The year was 1986. The Audi Quattro A1, the only four-wheel drive car in the field, is dominating the South African Rally Championship. With its 340 horsepower engine. Around that time, Nissan factory team believed their rear-wheel drive 310 Skyline R30 would give Audi a run for their money. The Skyline was an amazing car, going sideways in corners as the drivers pushed the car beyond the limits to stay with the four-wheel drive Audis. Nissan were reliable and scored a solid finish, whereas the Audi factory team ran a not so reliable Quattro per rally. So Nissan's car driver Hannes Grobler won the drivers' champion. But trouble was brewing. For the 1987 season, the trouble was called the Audi Quattro S1, but Nissan had a plan. They were going to build a car that would dominate the race, that car being the Super Skyline. With the news that Audi was joining with their 480 horsepower Quattro S1 in 1987, Grobler, the driver for the Nissan team, was up for the challenge. Their car was only a rear-wheel drive 310 horsepower Skyline. At first, Grobler believed that more horsepower would suffice, but he had a light bulb moment when his team installed the 310 horsepower 3-liter straight-six engine into the Nissan Safari off-road racing pickup. Even though the truck was heavier, the four-wheel drive drivetrain provided more traction. It was less spectacular than the Skyline, but faster, so they had to make the Skyline four-wheel drive. The Nissan team installed the Safari truck trans case, gearbox and differential into the Skyline. The Skyline had traction, but the make-do truck parts provided unreliable, but it proved its point. For the last rally season, the team added a low-boost turbocharge, hiking power up to 450 horsepower. The Nissan won stages in a straight fight with the Quattro. Nissan gave the green light, and the four-wheel Skyline was a go. With the mandate to build a four-wheel drive car that could beat the Quattro, Grobler set about creating his Skyline R31 monster. The powerhouse of the Skyline was the Nissan 3-liter VG30 12-valve V6 engine, but Grobler needed more horses. At the time, the US-based Electromotive Engineering, later known as NPTI, built 1,000 horsepower VG30 engines for the IMSA GT Championship. Grobler settled for the 650 horsepower. The car famously had a dial in the cabin. Grobler could select between 450 horsepower for a laid-back day, 550 horsepower for a stage-winning kind of day, and 650 for days when the Audis were annoying fast. The four-wheel drive Trans was a bespoke design. The British company Ferguson supplied the special viscous coupling system with a 6-14 split between the rear and front axles. Local gearbox specialist Gemini Transmissions built a special gearbox system. Some of the parts came from the Nismo parts bin, like the suspension that came from the Nissan 240 RS rally car, and the rest of the parts came from the 4x4 parts bin. In early March 1988, the Super Skyline was ready for its first shakedown, 2 days before its first rally, but then disaster struck. Robler rolled the Skyline, and a local panel beater worked 24 hours to get the Skyline back into shape for the rally, but the custom-made fiberglass front bumper destroyed. There was no time to replace it, so they had to put the stock Skyline bumper back on. Now let's talk about the insane driver behind this monster. Hans Grobler, aged 54, had to abandon his promising career in rugby as a result of a knee injury, and then became a motorsport hero till this date, has won a total of 10 national motorsport championships. These include the 1979 to 1980 Amateur Rally Driving Championship, 2 Rally Driving Championships in 1986 to 1991, 2 Rally PCD Championships in 1998 to 1999, and the 4 National Off-Road Driving Championships in 1986, 2003, 2004, and 2006. He also was awarded the Springbok National Colors for Motorsport in 1987 and his Protar National Colors in 1999. He also was in the Dakar Rally in 2003 and 2004 in Team Nissan support truck, rescuing his teammates and other competitors on more than one occasion, and winning the Spirit of Dakar award for his efforts. Now, let's get back to the race. May 1986, with the new custom bumper in place for the next rally, and other small issues sorted, Grobler took on the mighty Audi Quattro's S1s in the next rally. The Skyline was leading the charge when disaster. Grobler hit a ditch at speed, damaging the front differential. There was no time to replace the broken part, so Nissan lost about 3 minutes to the leading Audi. The next morning, with a differential replaced, Grobler was on a mission, with a full flat 650 horsepower in the game, and despite having a few clutch and differential issues, the Skyline gave everyone a taste of what was coming. In one stage, the Skyline took a second per 0.6 miles off the Quattro for the first time in years. The leading Audi S1 crew were waiting on the Marshall points to check the Nissan's time. The Audi cage was ever so rattled. After a challenging rally, Grobler and the Super Skyline still came second. At the next rally, the stars aligned for the Super Skyline, the Nissan winning every stage on the first day ahead of the Quattro. Next morning, the Audi crew claimed that they were pacing themselves with the championship in mind, so they wouldn't get into a fight with Grobler. But watching the Audi on the next stage, it was obvious that it was holding back star Audi driver Cel van der Merwe was not going to let the let Nissan win. His ego would not allow such a thing. Despite a broken CV, the Super Skyline won its first national rally. It had beaten the mighty Audi Quattro S1, a car that took years and a massive team of engineers to create, costing millions of dollars to develop. The Super Skyline would end the 1988 season with a solitary victory, but it did fire a clear and obvious warning to the rest of the field. Around this time, Audi's henchmen apparently whispered in the ears of the motorsport authorities, according to an urban legend. They implied the authorities to cancel Class A, citing the cancellation of the Group B class in the World Rally Championship, highlighting the dangers of horsepower cars, which was not really a thing in South Africa. Either the whispers took place or not, the authorities would cancel the top class, switching to a 2-liter four-wheel drive cars in the 1989 season. Nissan decided to turn the Skyline into a track car, with some new aerodynamic bits fitted. The rally suspension was retained, but the ride height was lowered considerably. Nissan lined up for its first modified saloon race at the Kyalami racetrack, up against the likes of Audi Quattro, yes again, the Ford Sierra XR8, Mazda RX-7, and a Nissan 300ZX. Grobler only had one set of tires left for the race, as competitors retired or spun out. Grobler and the Nissan forged on, but he had major issues with the 650 horsepower Skyline spinning up all four wheels, coming out of corners, even in fourth gear. With 2 laps left, Grobler took the lead, but the Skyline tires were literally down to the metal. The top layers of rubber long gone, Grobler still managed to hang on the Super Skyline, winning its first race out of the box. There were 2 modified saloon heats on the day, but with no tires, the Nissan team parked the Skyline and watched the action from the sideline. Then the Nissan team went to Cape Town for round 2 of the championship. Armed with new racing slicks, Grobler and the Skyline unofficially broke the Audi Quattro's lap record at the track by a second during a practice season. At the Nissan team's behalf, Grobler backed off in qualifying season, placing Nissan in 4th place. The race started and Grobler pushed on. Going onto the pit straight, Grobler placed the Skyline on the outside of competitor Ian Scattor's Ford Sapphire. A suspension part in the Ford snapped. The Sapphire individually swerved into the Skyline, and both went hurling over the pit wall. 2 spectators were killed and several injured, but miraculously both drivers walked away from the massive crash. The Super Skyline was destroyed. Following the terrible accident, along with some ridiculous rules in the modifying saloon series, like the 330-pound weight penalty for winning a race. Grobler and Nissan decided not to rebuild the Skyline. So, will the Super Skyline ever be rebuilt? The custom V6 engine, which cost around $150,000 in 1987, about $417,000 in today's money, was stored in a Nissan workshop basement for many years. The good news is that a Nissan enthusiast who has built some hill climb cars is in the process of bringing the engine back to life after managing to secure replacement parts from the US company Electromotive Engineering. The plan is to restore the engine to the same level as the Grobler as Grobler used in the Skyline, and then use it in a replica Super Skyline. So, that's the story of the Super Skyline and its insane races and wins against the mighty Audi. I hope you guys all liked the video. Sorry for the delays, but I can't control the weather that's happening right now. Anyway, I hope you guys are all ready for the next video. Don't know when it'll come out, but it will probably be in a few months, maybe a week or two. It'll be a shorter one than this one. But as always, Meatloaf out.